Now, after understanding the 3D rotate option, now we would be learning about the 3D mirror command, the 3D move option, the 3D array option, the align option, the slice option, and then the rendering concepts. Now let's see what the 3D mirror command is all about. So before learning the 3D mirror option, I would like to first of all go back to the 2D mirror option and see what is the difference between the 3D mirror option and the 2D mirror option. So the mirror option that we used to do in the 2D, basically here we do a mirror command and we select the object and select a mirror line. That means with 2 points the line is defined. So we have first point and second point, and then the mirror, the replica of that, the mirror image of that selected object is created on the axis line. So here one thing that is of sure is the mirror actually is the 2D mirror is the command that is used while you are taking a line and then mirroring it. So in the 2D mirror, the only thing that you can do is to mirror an object or to create a replica of that object over at an axis, not at a plane. So at an axis means if you want to mirror this particular object that you have created, so that means using 2 points you can define an axis and you can mirror it. But let's say you have an object like this that you can see, a 3D object. Now I want to mirror. If I want to use a 2D mirror command, so if I do a mirror, so I can only mirror it in the axis like I have done like this. So if I want to mirror it, so with the 2D option, that is the mirror tool, I can only mirror it at a particular axis like this, 2 points. But let's say if I want to mirror it using a plane, that means if I want to have the mirror, like for example, this is fine in X and Y, I can mirror it. But if I want to mirror it using a plane, XY plane or a YZ plane or an inclined plane, then how am I going to do? So in mirror 3D is the command here, or 3D mirror you can say. So here it says select object, and here you have to select a plane, not a axis. So now in 2D mirror you were supposed to select an axis, but here you are supposed to select a plane. So to select a plane by point, you need 3 points to select a plane. The origin, for the first point is the origin, second is the one axis, let's say X axis, and third is the Y axis. So 2 axis and origin will define a plane. For example, if I want to, I'm using a 3-point option here. So how do I define the plane? So it says specify first point on the mirror plane. So I first point, second point, and third point. And then now you can see that if I say no, the object will be mirrored. Now this is fine. This one I can do by normal mirror command also. I don't require a plane, but I would be only requiring 2 points. I can do the same thing. But here in the mirror 3D, if you want to have the same mirror option, you have to have a plane. And the plane can be defined by 3 points. Now let's take another example where 3D mirror or mirror 3D is the command. Now it says you can also use the XY, YZ and ZX plane. So if I want to use the XY plane, so if I say XY means the plane which is horizontal, the XY. So now it says specify a point. So if I am taking the horizontal as a plane, I am saying that the plane passes through this particular point, then the mirror would be down. So the XY plane is the horizontal plane and the mirror would be down. The mirror object will be created in the downward direction. Similarly, if I say mirror 3D and if I select I have to be very particular about the command. Okay. So now if I say, let's say XY plane, and if I select the top point in the XY plane, so it will be mirror at the top. So XY plane, similarly, you can see select the YZ plane, or you can select, let's say if there is a line over here and if I select the YZ plane and the plane is going through this line, it's passing through this line. So what I can do is I can go to mirror 3D and say select object, and select the ZX plane here. So this, if I want this plane to be the mirror plane, so I will say ZX plane. So I select this point from where the mirror plane is going and click. So now you can see from the 3D orbit the distance between. So this line defines the ZX plane. Okay. So this one you can all these all mirror you can do also by the mirror command. Now let's take an example over here. So I chamfer this edge. Let me check the distance. Okay, it's 7.7 units. Okay. So for chamfering, either you go for a chamfer command or a chamfer edge command, that is the chamfer 3D. So we have already done the chamfer edge command. So let's say I select this edge, chamfer edge, and I give a value, let's say distance 3 and 3, and press enter. Now let's say if I want to create the replica of this particular model, taking this inclined plane as the mirror plane. So let's do it, mirror 3D. So here basically the mirror 3D command will be useful. So if I select this, and here I will take the 3 point. So you have this 1, 2, and let's say 3. So now you can see that how the object is mirrored. So I will shade it in the plane. So this is how the mirror is done. So this is basically the plane that you select while you do a mirror 3D. Similarly, there are other options like, for example, there is an option called XYZ, and there is an option called last. Last means the last, whatever last mirror plane that you have taken, and then object. Fine. So let's say if I have an object, let's say I create a rectangle at this top. So the rectangle, let's say if I want to create this rectangle at the top, let's say, so I have to use the dynamic UCS, or I can change the UCS to that particular plane. So here, let's say if I want to create a rectangle at the top of this face, so I say rectangle, and if I am using a dynamic UCS, so I have to be very careful regarding that, the plane is selected. So let me put on the dynamic UCS. So here we have the dynamic UCS. Okay, it's already on. So here we have the icon. So now it means the dynamic UCS is on. So right, you can also press F6 to put it on, as we have discussed earlier. So if you have a rectangle, and let's say I am placing my mouse over here, the work plane is selected. So now I'm just telling you the idea what I wanted to do. Let's say I put my mouse here, and let's say you have the rectangle. So now let's say with the 3D rotate, let me put the rectangle here, move it here. So the idea why I have moved it. So now if I do the mirror 3D option and select this object, then we have an option called object. So you can select arc or a 2D polyline segment. So if I select this object, the object will define the plane of mirror, and you can see that the mirror of that particular object will be done considering the object as a mirror plane. So this object, this 3D object that we have selected, is mirrored considering this object as a mirror plane. Now let's incline this object and give a inclination to the mirror plane. So 3D rotate. So select this object and take this as base point, and I want to rotate this, let's say, so the start point is this, and I want to rotate it. I think snapping goes wrong. select it, and rotation axis, let me put this as the y-axis, x-axis as a rotation axis, the base point. So first of all, if when I select a 3D rotate option, so the base point is this, I bring the tripod, okay, and then I get this direction. So pick the rotation axis, start point is this, and I just put the ortho off, so that, and also the snapping off. So if I, or an angle, let's say if I want to give an angle of 45 degrees. So here so this is 45 degrees, so this is the rotation, this is the plane that I want to have, this direction. So here if I want to have the mirror 3D and take this object as the plane, and you can see that, so what is happening is I have to do let's say I take a mirror of this particular, so I want to change, so I have this mirror 3D, and I go with the command and select this object as the mirror plane, and now you can see that this object will be uh, you know work as a mirror plane, and the object that you have selected got mirrored using the object as a mirror plane. So here we have this mirror plane selected by using the object option. So here, so that's what about the mirror 3D option. Now the next option that is needed to be discussed is the moving a 3D solid. So how do you move a 3D solid? So let me get it here. So one of the way, so 3D orbit and put it in the parallel view, and you can always have the shade SHA 2D wireframe to get in the 2D wireframe. Now let's just have a rectangle. It's a 2D rectangle, and the command for the 3D move is, so you can also have the move command as the, you can, as to move the object in the 3D. So you can see that here we have this tripod. Now select the base point, and so the difference is the, so once you use the 3D move and select the object, the tripod is visible. Now here you can see that the X is colored red, Y is green, and Z is blue. Now here the different planes are there. So move your cursor to the axis you want to move. Now here it snaps up. Now a line is shown in which the movement can be done. So click on the axis, just click, and then move point. Now here specify move point. So click on it, and click on the axis, and just click where the destination you want to move. So this is the 3D move. Dynamically you can do this again. So you just put your mouse on the axis that you want to move. For example, this is the axis that I want to move. Click on it, and then if you want to go for a copy, so once you go up, a copy of an object will be displayed. So this is the 3D move option. Normal move option is if you press M and take a base point, so you just can move up, you can just move down with the ortho on. So 3D move basically provides you with a tripod, as you can see, and basically helps you in order to move at a particular point where you want to go. So again, so put your cursor, get the track, and go up and go down. So here we have done the 3D move option. Now let's go to the next. Next is basically the 3D array. Normal array and 3D array. So here let's go with the normal array first, and let's see where the 3D array, how 3D array is different from normal array. So the normal array command. So let me shade 2D wireframe, and let me have the small box. So the distance is 0.3, for example. So let me create a rectangle first. Change the units. Engineering. Create a 9" by 9" column. Make the column as 10 feet. Okay. Now I go with normal array command. So if I use the normal array command, so here what I have this in the rectangular array, I can basically have this option level to level. So you have this column. So let's say the distance between the columns is 10 feet. So you can have the and the distance between the rows is, let's say again, 10 feet. I have 4 rows and 4 columns. So this is something that you can see over here. So if I, so this is in X and Y, the copy is there. Now let's say if you want to copy this in the Z direction, do you have the levels option. So let's say if you have 3 floors, or let's say 2 floors, I can have 3 floors and the distance is 10 feet or 6 inches, that's right. So now you can see that if you close the array, the object not only is copied in the X and Y direction, but also in the Z direction. So this is about normal array. Now let's see what the 3D array commands had the story. So if you have the 3D array, you can say 3A, or 3D array command is 3A also you can say. So you have this column and select this. Now you go for a rectangular. So here there is no contextual tab. Directly it says number of rows 4, number of columns 4, number of levels 5, and here you can give so 3D array as such. The difference between the two commands, the array and the 3D array, is in the this particular command you cannot do the associativeness, but it is an old command actually. Prior to having this ribbon, development of the ribbon based tool, this command was there. So Autodesk has kept this command. So you can do the same while you are doing a array command also. For the polar, how it matters. I have a circle. I create a cylinder. It may matter over here because here things are a bit different. There's a cylinder, and here I have let's say another rectangle here, and I put it somewhere here. So let's go to the top view and align this with the center point, and let me have this option here. So changing the view to parallel view. So now I go with 3D array, and I select this object and I want to have a polar. Now here the number of items I need 4, angle to fill, rotate arrayed object, yes. Now here one thing that is seen is the axis of the array. Now center point of the array would be this, and it asks for the second point. So now you can see that the object is arrayed on the axis. This one you can do with normal array option that you have in the let's say I redo it. Let me get the rectangle again. So the normal array command is the AR, where you have this contextual tab. So we go with the array and select this, and we have this polar option. And so here also you can see, if you say that there is a center point, so here you can do the same, right? Here also you can select the uh, axis of rotation. So here you can give these 2 points as the axis of rotation. So the tools that are there in the 3D array are same to the options that are available in the array command. So you can do the 3D array operations using the new tools, that is the array tools. So let's also see what 3D array has in. So if you have this circle and you want to extrude it, and let's say select this, and I want to extrude it in this particular direction. So let me have this rotate this. So I can use the rotate 3D option over here, where I can select this point, select this and say 90°. And let's say I have this line, so I can extrude this, let's say, yeah. So now let's say if I want to extrude this particular object in this particular axis, so I can go with 3D array and select this object and say polar, and I take number of items 4. I take this as the axis, yes, and this as the axis, and the second point of the axis. So you can see, let me have the axis again. So what is happening exactly is, so now if you have an object like this, and let's say, let me create the rectangle first. Let me create the, okay. So now let's say you have this object and you put it here in this. Now if you want to have the array of this polar array, so 3D array is the command. Select this object, you have this polar array option, and number of items is 4, and 360 rotate arrayed object, and then you have the center point here, and you can take this other point as the center point. Now you can see that it has rotated in the axis. So here the 3D polar array, you don't define a point, but you define an axis. Okay, the next option that I would be taking is the aligned option, 3D align or align option. So here mainly the align option, if you have an object and I have another object and I do chamfer, so I give a command called chamfer edge. So now see the application of this. Let's say I give it as 1 feet and 1 feet. Okay, and press enter. So now let's say if I have an object created at the bottom, let's say small piece, and okay, I want to align this face. I want to align this object with the face that is tapered over here. So align, you have to write the full. So select the object that you want to align. I want to align this object, and I want to keep this first point here, the second point here. So now the third point, I want to keep it in this line. Now this is how the object gets aligned. So aligning is, again I repeat, so you have an object which is again, it should, the geometrical object should have faces to align. You have an object which is standing on the horizontal plane, and then you have an inclined face over here. Let me give you a better example of it. Let's say I have got small boxes over here, and okay, so here I want to align the box, this box, the midpoint of which should be in alignment with this. The first destination point is this, and the second destination point I want to give it over here, because to keep the direction. and the third destination point I want to give here, and let's say here. So now you can see that the object, the first destination point was in midpoint, got aligned with the mid of the plane. So here you can look into it. So now it went down because there was a wrong plane that was selected. So now again we have to get the alignment done properly. So ALIGN, select the point. You can take any point. Let's say I take this point, first point, take this point at the second point, third point I would suggest this. So shade so that you can see how the alignment is done, and you can see that so it is going down. Since the reason why it is going down is the point is not properly picked. So what should I do if I want to have the alignment correct? So what the mistake I was doing, you have to understand. People generally, when they do alignment, they select points which are arbit. So what is the correct way? Now let's say if I have a rectangle box and if I want to align this face, so now you have to go with the algorithm. So let's say if I, let me extrude, if I go with the align tool, and first point is this, second point is this, and third source point is this, and I want to align in this axis. So probably now this is the right way. Why I wanted to tell you this, what would be the right way? Let me tell you again what is the correct way. So when you do an alignment, you have to be very careful where the point goes. So the first point is this source point, and then the destination is this. So you want to start the alignment from this point, and second point I want to align to this particular edge, and the third point is this edge I want to align to this particular edge, that means parallel to this edge. So I click on this point. So now you can see that the object gets aligned. So you need to check every time you do an alignment, because there are a lot of alignment that we do in a constructional project. So let's say if I want to move it in the midpoint, let's say mid to mid, and I want to do a press and pull, let's say, right? So again, snapping should be off, because most time when you do a grip, the snaps plays a very vital role. So let me go back. Okay, and so I can, so this is how basically I can do an alignment. The next is topic is the slice option. Now this is an interesting option. That's a something I like the most about slicing an object, and it's a concept that you should understand what slicing is. So why slicing is basically cutting the object, 3D object, into two parts. Now let's say if I have a rectangle, say at the rate 5 feet, 5 feet, and I extrude this rectangle 5 feet. Now since this is a solid model, now check it. Now what I want to do is I want to cut this object into two parts, like the break command that we did in AutoCAD 2D. I want to do a slicing. I want to slice it. So the slice option is SLICE, and select the object. Now once you do a slicing option, there are different options like XY plane, ZX plane, 3 points, and planar object surface. So now all these heads towards selecting a plane. So I have told you that when we work in 3D, we talk about planes, especially when we are defining sections, slices, and mirroring and other things. So when we talk about the planes, so 3 points define the plane. The first point is the origin, second is the x-axis, and the third is the y-axis. So now here we have the 3 point. So here if I want to define a slice plane with 3 points, so if I want to cut this object with a knife at this point, so 3 point would be this. So the first point I would go with the mid of this. So this is the origin, and let's say the second point I go in this particular direction, or I can go in this direction also, and the third point I want to go this direction.